Is liberty dying where you live? Escape to Keene at freekeene.com.
Well, this is a special interview for Free Talk Live, and today I have with me Dr. Ron Paul. Dr. Ron Paul, you there?
I am here. Nice to be with you.
Thanks for coming on the show. We're very excited to have you here. Now, I've got some questions that I want to get through. I've got you for a limited time, and I want to jump right on them. Okay, so the first thing, what happened in 2008 and 2012 with the Ron Paul revolution, if we want to use that terminology, the Lovolution? It was completely unprecedented in American politics and maybe international politics. I'm not going to claim to know. But, it was the grassroots thing. And what I want to know is, what was it like to be the guy that was chosen, that this revolution came up around?
I've always said in politics, a lot of it is luck and timing, whether you go to Congress or not, isn't always because you just planned it that way. And I probably got to Congress by luck, being in the right place at the right time, or the wrong place at the wrong time, I don't know which. But I think this is what happened in '08 and in '12. They call it a Ron Paul revolution, but obviously it isn't. It is a philosophic revolution that was, working its way through the system probably for 30 or 40 years, since there's been a much greater interest in libertarian free market ideas and Austrian economics. I think it just happened that in '08 when I filed to be a candidate, it was a time when the country was really looking for something. They more or less gave up on the status quo. So many came to realize that the two parties were pretty much the same, and both parties were messing up. And this is something I had talked about for a long time. And then we had a financial crisis. The people got tired of the wars. And then this whole philosophy became more appropriate. So it was more or less that I was there and sort of caught this wave of the change that was about to come. Hopefully I helped it along a little bit, but I think there definitely has been the philosophic underpinnings of this, and I consider that very, very healthy. Not that I want to pick on Ross Perot, but Ross Perot came and went, but I don't think he had a totally different philosophy. And this philosophy has been, being laid down for these many decades by good economists and good libertarian thinking, and I think that is what's happened, and it just sort of happened that I was there, and that it was, it gave me an opportunity to help it along.
What was it like, though? What did it feel like? Did you, you seemed like a reluctant candidate even before you filed, and, did you want this? Did Carol want this?
Not really. I always wanted to be a participant. I always wanted to, play a role in it. But I never really wanted to go to Congress. I don't like the politics of it. And somebody remarked after our rally in Tampa, just recently, they said, well, he talked for an hour and 15 minutes. He never mentioned Romney's name nor Obama's name, sort of halfway critical. He's in the politics. He's supposed to blast these guys. But I don't see myself as being in politics as much as being involved in, trying to change people's minds and attitudes, and I use this as a platform. Some people say, well, that means you're not really serious about winning. Well, I won 12 times, Yes, I am, because I think winning is not so much for personal gratification. From my viewpoint, it is a sign that people are willing to endorse an individual who will, state these particular principles and not get thrown out of office. So I think it's a mixed thing. Politics are very important, but I was probably pretty surprised about the amount of attention we've gotten in the last 4 years.
So would you call it duty? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but do you think that you went to Congress and you decided to run for president out of a sense of duty to the ideas of freedom? I hate the term because I don't think anybody has a moral obligation.
No, and I wouldn't use that term either as duty. And some people like to associate that with sacrifice. You have to sacrifice your time. And frequently in my speeches, I would say, people are coming along and they're coming up with the solutions, especially on the college campuses. And I said, they say you have to sacrifice. But let me tell you, what kind of a sacrifice would it be if I got the government out of your lives and off your back and out of your wallet, and you get to keep everything you earn, and you didn't have an income tax, and you weren't told how to run your life? What would you be sacrificing? All of a sudden, it's glorious. So it isn't so much duty. I do it out of, self-interest. I do it because I enjoy doing it. I do it because I believe it's important. I do it because I'd rather live in a free country. I do it as an investment because some people can invest money in it, and I invested time. So I don't think it's a sacrifice at all. I think it's something that is done because you believe it's worthwhile for yourself and your family, and for the future. If you care about the future too, it shouldn't be seen as a sacrifice. I think there's a sense of moral obligation, and I try to put a burden on those individuals who are listening. I said, if you discover that this is right, and you know that freedom works, and this makes a lot of sense, there's only a small number of people in the world who ever really come around to leading philosophically any group. But if you're one of those, you're obligated to participate more so than the person who never gets involved, because you always have the multitudes generally never really understand and get involved. They just sort of passively participate and see how they can benefit and that sort of thing. But in this case, if you really understand it, I think you have an obligation, and there should be some satisfaction from it. And I also frequently tell audiences that, it's serious business. We don't know the outcome, and it should be fun associating with like-minded people. And you should have a good time doing it. And then it doesn't seem quite like the burden. If you think, the world's coming to an end tomorrow, it's rather depressing. So I don't dwell on that as much as looking at the positive things. And fortunately, we've had a few things to look at for the whole movement that have been very positive, in spite of the fact that the country hasn't changed and Washington is still a mess. But I think attitudes are changing. It's very encouraging for me to go to the college campuses and get the support that I think is so important from young people.
The attitudes are changing, and it's absolutely true. And I think that, I think that the Levolution, let's use that terminology, in order to, really had a huge effect in changing so many people's hearts and minds. Now, this really is, it used to be in the liberty movement, it used to be, I was converted because I read Ayn Rand, or I read Robert Heinlein, and those were the reasons. And the reasons kind of interspersed later. There were some shows, Free Talk Live among them, that started out in the early aughts. But when the Ron Paul revolution came around, the Levolution came around, so many more people heard the message and got it. That really did spread the message, and it spread it in such an incredible way. What goes on from here? Because I don't know. I mean, are you feeling spry? Are you thinking 2016 you'll be, by far the oldest man?
Not really, but they can't. Some people can't wait for me to go away, and that's why I kidded on Jay Leno. And they said, "What are your plans?" I'm like, well, I got to go out and start planning for 2016. Well, obviously they knew I was joking, but they also know that I'm not going to just fade away, because right now, I have a lot of invitations to do a lot, anything from internet programming to different organizations and speeches. And even though the campaign now is over, I'll be going up to the University of Utah here in next week. And so I think that's going to continue. But there's going to be a lot more people doing it. And it'll be interesting to see, how things go, and especially what my relationship will be, because I won't be a political figure. And that may be a negative, but it might be a positive. I might have more freedom, to go about, because there are restraints as a member of Congress. I've already had a lot of invitations worldwide. So I think this is truly a revolutionary event, and it's not just in the Republican primary. Matter of fact, this might have been the toughest place to sell this in the Republican primary when you talk about let's stop the wars and let's quit having corporate welfare. So, but the world is suffering today from 100 years of mismanagement through bad economic policies. Communism and radical socialism has failed. Fascism has not failed. Central banking has not been given up on yet, but it's close to it because people are looking at it and saying, what kind of a mess do we have and who has the answers? Fortunately for us who believe in the freedom movement, we're getting a lot of attention.
Well, I'll be happy to extend the offer to you can be a co-host on a nationally syndicated radio show on 112 radio stations too. So that's just another thing that you can decide.
Right.
But you'll have to pick up and move for the Free State Project because that's where we are.
Oh, okay. I've been there, a couple times.
Oh yeah, you've been there. That's certainly true. You brought the house down at the Liberty Forum on a couple of occasions. Speaking of the Free State Project, we're sort of talking about what's going to happen in the future. Do you see things like the Free State Project having a positive effect?
Absolutely, and I think the more the merrier and the more attention they get. If one state can get ahead of the rest, that sets a very good standard. But I don't think that necessarily has to be the only way. I still like the idea that there'll be many free state movements too, and everything has to become a free state movement. But in the meantime, if a large enough group can get together and make a change in the state and see some definite improvements, with personal liberty and also economic liberty, this would be great to have that. But eventually, it has to infiltrate all the states, just like I say that, like Nixon claimed we were all Keynesians. Keynesianism infiltrated the Democratic Party. Right now we have to take our ideas, and it has to not only be the Republican issues, but Democrat, independent. It has to be the college professors. It has to be in the media, and eventually in all the states. So, no, I love the idea of the Free State movement, and hopefully they really set the example that others can follow.
So, a lot of people are asking this right now. You've got a vote, and that vote goes on in the state of Texas. It's a foregone conclusion that Texas is a red state, and it's going to go for Mitt Romney. Your vote doesn't really matter whether you vote for Romney or not. I mean, you could vote for Romney or Obama, and the result is going to be the same. What about the third-party candidates, and I mean, who are you going to vote for, and why?
I haven't decided, and right now I can find shortcomings with just about everybody. But obviously the two that are the least attractive are the ones that belong to that one party, a single party. So I work a lot with progressives, and the progressives and those on the left are better than some libertarians are, so I don't want to say that they shouldn't do it. Right now, I sort of like this, I'm comfortable with none of the above some days. What difference does it make? But over the years, over the many decades, I always thought my vote was much more valuable by voting for the candidate that does not exist in the major two parties. And they said, well, you're wasting your vote. No. The more votes they get, the more important that message looks. But there's going to be a lot of discussion on that. Some people are disgusted they won't vote, and some will say, well, Romney's a little bit better on taxes, I'm going to vote for him. And some will say, actually, Obama, is a little bit better on the war issue. Sounds like Romney wants to fight wars more than Obama. I better vote for Obama. That type of argument. And some will vote libertarian, and some will, just not even show up at the polls. I don't think because nobody sees that next year we're going to have a strict constitutional pro-liberty president. I think everybody has to do what they need to do to spread the message the best way they can. That to me is the subject, is how do you spread the message. And everybody has different techniques on how to do it.
So you just leave it open to individuals. Do you have? I mean, calling you the leader of this movement doesn't really, it's just not a correct statement. I mean, to me, you're like the body surfer on the giant wave, But I mean, do you have any? People do look to you for guidance. Do you have any idea how this freedom movement is going to parse out in the next 4 years?
Well, no, I don't think anybody knows exactly. All I know is we're much better off than we've been. I'm working on a little statement on my last statement on the House floor and comparing 1976 with today. And that's Washington's the same, if not much worse. We're in more chaos than ever, and nobody's really paid any attention. But outside of Washington, there's been tremendous progress. I mean, the freedom movement has made great strides. So that makes me optimistic. But how it's going to pan out, I don't know. I work on the assumption we're going to have a dollar financial crisis. Federal government's not going to be able to afford anything that they're pretending they are. We're going to have a revamping of the system. And I believe there could be very much of this nullification that's almost de facto, that if the government doesn't have any money to bribe us with, maybe the states will take it upon themselves, and maybe the free state movement will really have an impact, say this is what you have to do. And there's a little bit of that going on now. It certainly was called to attention when they talked about Obamacare. How do I opt out of this, And maybe that might be the most we can hope for ever, is if we can't legalize opting out of anything and everything we want to, for practical reasons, if the government loses its ability to force us because they don't have any more money, this is going to give us a tremendous opportunity, I think, to go back to local government. But the big danger is that there's going to be political chaos, and then the people who are threatened to lose their power, they become even more ruthless. That is why the politics of nonviolence is so important for people to understand, to be able to counteract this, and hopefully in the rebuilding that we'll have a much better society.
So there was an article out a couple of years ago that showed that you had done very well by investing in gold and silver. Do you recommend that today?
Yeah, but I don't really even call it an investment. It dawned on me in the early 70s that what we were embarking on when they, got rid of Bretton Woods, when gold was $35 an ounce, or the dollar was 1/35 of an ounce of gold, that this thing was going to go in a certain direction. So I wanted insurance. So I considered the fact that I bought gold even back then was that I was betting the dollar would go down, and I'm still betting the dollar is going to go down. And so it's not quite like an investment where the way a person operates the business makes a difference. You might apply that to gold stocks, but not to the physical holding of gold. That's an insurance policy if you believe the government's going to continue to spend and print money and monetize debt. And I see no signs in the near future that they're going to change. That won't change until after the crisis. So I still think that people, should buy a little bit of insurance, and everybody has to make their own decisions on that. So I have a few more minutes. If you want to hit me with another question or two, then I have to run.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. This is recorded, so I can cut up pieces and take it, and I do appreciate your time. We're over here. So have you heard of Bitcoins?
Yes, I have, but I don't know enough about it to have a strong opinion about it. But anything that give the system some competition, I'm all for. I just want to legalize all the competition possible to the current monetary system.
Carol, does she like this whole politics thing, or does this take you away from the family and she doesn't like it?
No, she's always encouraged me to do it. She's probably more in favor about it than when I am when I'm tired.
Ron Paul, thank you for your time.
All right, very good. Good to talk to you.
Bye.
Bye.
We'd like to invite you to visit freekeen.com. Freekeen.com features audio, video, and blogs chronicling the transition to a voluntary society. Freekeen.com also has comments and discussion forums so you can be heard. Freekeen.com.
I should be in Keene, New Hampshire with the Free Staters.